What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Awakening World. I'm your host, Love Coach Scott Thomas, and this is our Wednesday night edition. And Wednesday nights, because it's when I get to co-host with Trish, this is where we go into deeper conceptual things, deal with social issues and dynamic conversations. And we're going to have a very dynamic conversation tonight as Trish and I are welcoming back Shariff Abdullah, one of the great minds that we've had the pleasure to get to know on the Awakening World. I want to welcome a lot of our friends that are regulars that are in the Zoom room. So welcome, everybody. Let us know where you are geographically. I see that we already have people from Montana, Ecuador, California, British Columbia, Oregon, San Diego. Shariff is in Portland. Omashar is in Colorado. And we have Omashar music in a moment. But I also want to welcome those of you who are watching on all the different Facebook groups and pages. We go out to as many as 135 Facebook groups and pages, all through the Sign Network. So thank you to John and Summer Raymer for making that happen. Also, I want to welcome those of you watching on our new broadcast partner, the Conscious Awakening Network, and those of you watching on YouTube. Now, it's great to watch us in those ways, but you can't really interact with us. So I want to invite you right now to come and join the Global Peace Tribe. And it's really easy to do that. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com, globalpeacetribe.com. There's Trish, and there's Pato and Antoinette. We were just with them. I was with them in person on Friday and online with them today. They're in Brazil now. Anyway, you click where it says register for the new season, and that takes you to the registration page, which is really easy to fill out. Now, tonight, we are announcing the launch that we are going to do another 3 months of the Awakening World. So we are now receiving registrations for the next 3 months, going all the way through June 30th. Now, if you've already registered and you register now, you'll, of course, get the links for the next, they'll take you all the way through June 30th. And for anybody who's new, if you haven't been with us before, you haven't registered for this season, register now and you're going to get the links for the next 4 months. You're going to get everything. So this is the time to register, whether you've already registered for this season or whether you haven't registered yet, do so. What do you get when you register? A lot. We do 3 shows every week, sometimes more. We did a couple extra ones last week. So for example, this is the show we're doing tonight, Ruminating on Things That Matter with Shariff Abdullah. On Saturday night, Understanding Enlightened Partnerships. We've got 5 couples, all of whom are very successful in their various fields, including Shri and Kira coming all the way in from Ecuador, a couple of musical couples, Fanny and Vigari, Chamishka, and Pato and Antoinette, and then Renee and Anthony and Michael McClure and Kamala Devi, 5 couples that are all powerful couples that are on a spiritual path. How do they balance children and personal life and professional life? Well, we're going to learn about that on Saturday night. And then Sunday, we're continuing our kind of Ascension Retreat series. And we're going to have with us Deborah Giusti, who literally wrote the book on Ascension, Suzanne Ross, the founder of the Sedona Ascension Retreat, Ellen Steinfeld, JJ, and Desiree Hertog, who are world-famous scholars who've been in this Ascension world for 50 years plus, and beloved Tangela co-hosting with me. And of course, Omashar providing music. So for those of you who are new, that's just an example. That's what we're doing this week. Every week, amazing live shows with inspired guests where we're bringing you all the latest kind of information on the raising of consciousness. And over the next 2 months, we're going to be doing a lot of live broadcasts from retreats in Sedona, in Los Angeles, in San Diego. So you don't have to be there. We're going to bring you all the amazing presenters. But of course, if you can come to these retreats, that's going to be pretty awesome as well. So with no further ado, I am going to bring on my co-host, Trish. And she is the reason we are on Wednesday nights now, so that we could have Trish. And Trish, we had promised to ruminate. So before we go to Omashar, before I go to Shariff, what is something you've been ruminating on in your life this week?
Oh, gosh. What have I been ruminating on? I've been thinking a lot. There's a couple of things that keep me up at night. But I've been really thinking about how, if you really want to know, the thing that I've been thinking about most the last couple, maybe week or so is how certain, the way that our judgments dehumanize each other. Mm-hmm. The way that we attack people who are trying to help and they might be doing it wrong. The way that we dehumanize ourselves by personal judgments or trying to conform to some social construct or norm. Like, this is what I've been thinking a lot about. And it's in the context of my class, right? So that I'm walking these people through really how to become self-secure. And part of that looks like helping them sort of dissolve some of the societal filters, most will say, that keep them kind of stuck in self-sabotage and self-hate and other hate, even where they have these judgments of self and other. One of the things that I want to share with you is a piece that I've been, like a line that I've been just resting with the last few days. And that's becoming intimate with the ambiguity, paradox, and uncertainty of life will give you the resilience to courageously embrace all of life. And it's something that I wrote just this past week, and I've been really sitting with that.
That's deep. That's definitely deep.
You wanted me to ruminate.
I did. And I'm eager to hear what Shariff has to say about that and all sorts of things. But before we go to Shariff, of course, we are going to start with some Omashar music. Hey, brother.
Hey there, namaste and aloha. And looking forward, I have my seatbelt off tonight because I know that we're safe. And so I'm going to sing a song called Completely Free. And let's just breathe into the center for a minute, just let go of everything that's happened in our days and the past week so we can be fully present for this beautiful presentation this evening.
And Eleanor Joy is here, so hopefully we're going to get some dancing and I see Sylvia is here. So let's get ready to move and groove.
This is a mid-tempo song, so you can waltz to this. At the end, I have a rocking song, but there's a long time till then. I opened the door inside. inside my heart there is a radiant presence telling me this is where I start. Whoa. I have been waiting for so long, and yes, I have faltered. Flickering faith I've had in you. Whoa. Now that I see the greater plan, I know you've been watching, silently present, cheering me on. Through my pain I've grown so strong, and though my heart's been broken and friendships they have crumbled, I do it all again. And yes, I did it all for you. I knew that you'd come through. I open the door inside my heart. There is a radiant presence telling me this is where I start. Whoa, shining light, please lead me home. For I know you never left me, and that I have never walked alone. And now I am ready for your essence to be fully merged with my life, and I'm ready for the changes that are required of me to be completely free. With your light I can see. La 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 la.
Let's all give a twinkle to Omashar. Thank you for getting us off to that wonderful start. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You.
That's the beginning.
It's a great, it's fun. It's peppy. It's a peppy song. It's
Yes.
an upbeat song.
Yes, yes.
It's very upbeat.
Thank you.
Hey, a reminder, everybody, now you hear it all the time, those of you that are regulars, but we really want to support this guy. His music, awesome. And he's so dedicated to us. So please go to omashar.bandcamp.com and get his albums. And I always remind him there's just blank space, and I know he's working on it.
Yeah.
10 songs. 10 songs.
Lightness of Being, next
The
album.
Lightness of Being.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to that album.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, I love you, Omashar. And
Looking
I'm
forward
looking
to
forward to
tonight.
being with you again in person in
I
about
know, what a
1 month.
concept.
Yeah, in
Yeah,
about 1 month.
twice this century.
That's right. All right. With no further ado, I'm going to bring up Trish. Trish, do you want to introduce our absolute magnificent guest of honor?
Yes, I do. I'm excited to introduce you, Sharif. And if you haven't seen some of our previous interviews with Sharif, you may want to go back and watch because they were really heart-centered and profound. So Shariff Abdullah is a consultant, speaker, and author and advocate for societal transformation. His mission is to bring currently dysfunctional systems and structures into alignment with our common human and spiritual values to create a world that works for all living things. As director of COMMONWAY Institute, he has visited probably over more than 43 countries and over 100 distinct cultures, giving him a unique perspective on our global human and spiritual issues and a vision that spans culture and class. He has proven experience in working with all peoples and in many different situations, bringing harmony in conditions of actual and or potential conflict and discord. He's got a couple books out. Would you like to share all the names of these books?
It gets tiring after a while. No, it's my most recent sharing is, I'm seeing what's over in my chair right now. I have the workbook, Practicing the 12 Steps of Inclusivity. And this is really interesting, but I'm not going to talk about it right now. And the one that I am working on right now, I should tell you that I'm sitting like in a cockpit, and there's stuff all around me ready to be grabbed if I need to work on X or Y or Z, and everything I need to work on to grab right now is over there. Okay, so yeah, so I'll show you books at some other point in time.
You know, when I look at your website, at the very top, it says, bridging the gap between inner work and a world that works for all. Now, of course, that's what you've chosen as your kind of moniker, but that is what I so appreciate about you, Sharif, is that you recognize both. We've got to do the inner work, but we can't ignore our social work and what we need to do in the external world. And I think often you struck me as somebody who's very dedicated to that balance of personal growth as well as showing up in the world to make the changes we all know need to be made.
It's the same thing. Now, if you think it's not the same thing, then your thinking about it is the problem. Okay. Now, there are folks who want to say, okay, I'm not going to look at all that societal stuff. It's too hard. It's too, I didn't create any of that. So somebody else has to do that. Anybody who's focusing on that is unenlightened. And I'm an enlightened being, so I don't have to talk about any of that stuff. And those are the ones who have their foot on the accelerator of societal collapse. Now, on the foot on the other accelerator is the folks who spend all of their time focused on this problem, that problem, and spend their time embracing the problem as opposed to embracing the solution. So both of these are patterns, and you can have a comfortable niche in, oh, I'm in love with everybody that I'm paying attention to, which is pretty easy because I'm not paying attention to very many people. Or it's all gloom and doom, and there's nothing that we can do about this, etc. And so the work of COMMONWAY is to walk this middle path, the path that actually will lead to a world that works for all. the path that will actually lead to a world that works for more than me and my friends. Okay. Now, we need to be talking about the creation of a world that works for all living beings, even the ones I don't like. Okay. Even the ones that don't particularly like me. Even the ones who are in some way in pain, and I have to accept the fact that I may be causing that pain. In some way they are out of it. They're not part of it. And some way, maybe it's me and my perception that's not seeing them as part of it. So I can give you a quick story. It's be my only story for tonight. Only story for the next 2 minutes. So I was on the island of Bali, and in one of the most beautiful places on one of the most beautiful islands in the world. Okay. And I was sitting down to do my meditation, and I was doing an open eye meditation because everything I was seeing was feeding into this heart place of love and peace and happiness. The temperature was perfect. I was meditating in front of this beautiful multicolored flowered bush. And I was just sitting there thinking, it doesn't get any better than this. And right as I said that, this beautiful white butterfly just starts flying through my visual field. And I said, it just got better. And as soon as I said that, this bird came along and scooped up the butterfly and starts eating it.
Wow.
Now, this was one of the least attractive birds I've ever seen in my life. It was this dull gray. It was a pretty sizable bird, had long legs, and its bill drooped down. Okay. So it looked like it was sad. It had these kind of red eyes. Look, it had been drinking all night. And it took the butterfly and ground off its wings. So the butterfly is kind of trying to get away. Its wings fluttered to the ground, and it swallows the butterfly, and then it looks at me. It's looking right at me, and it's got this look on its face like, am I beautiful?
Wow.
And that, we can get so hung up in our own world. We can't see that everything is beautiful in the world in its context.
Mhm.
And that's the world that we need to see, not just, these are the pleasant things. We need to see all of this. And that's how I've been trying to encourage us to look.
Well,
Story. Go ahead, Trish.
I'm really like, I love your work because it is something that's really close to my heart. And that's really understanding the vast capacity of humanity. So instead of playing into the dichotomy or the polarity of what could or it should be based on sort of our reactionary experiences, but to really expand that and really see all of what life can be. I'm paraphrasing, and I haven't been able to take your class yet. But that's something that when you speak, that's what it feels like to me. And I also want to live in that world. And I spend a lot of time thinking about how there's a lot of leadership or that's participating in in the way that's like my rules are the ones that are working. And I still don't think that's actually the thing. You know, we have these things like, I just want to use an example. I don't know if you follow any crazy social media stuff, but there's this guy named Andrew Tate that I was following his story. Do you know this person?
What was the name?
Andrew Tate.
No.
So in the news, there's this guy who is presenting what masculinity is. And what he was presenting is a type of masculinity that is the hyper patriarchal masculine that's really like, I control, it's me, I'm, you know, like I have the container. And what it comes out is that he is actually sex trafficking a bunch of young people all over the world, young women, that he would get them to do these things for him because he would like start dating them, mentally manipulate them, and then start trafficking them. I know this is, we were ruminating today. and I was thinking about it because so many people in the world, so many men and women are wanted to participate in that. And I had thought a lot about this in the sense of like people wanting purpose and something to follow, but the necessity for belonging and connection.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on maybe some of the strategies that you've seen of people's needs, like their strategies for belonging and connection, and how you see that we can expand and evolve our understanding and perception of that.
Yeah. Interesting. 4 or 5 things come to mind, and one of the things I've started doing is timing myself, because I kind of go on, then I go on, then I go on. It's like, okay, wait a minute. So let me spend a couple of minutes unpacking that. No, I don't know who Andrew Tate is, and I don't know on purpose. Every morning I check the news, and my checking of the news takes about 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I never ever watch video-based news. I don't want to see moving pictures. I don't want to see a person with a really reasonable voice with a reasonable tie on telling me what is happening in the world. Okay. All of that affects your consciousness in a way. And the way it affects your consciousness is not a way I want my consciousness affected. So I go first to the BBC, then to Al Jazeera, then to AP, then a couple of other ones. And I look at the text of their feed. And every story I see, I ask myself a question. What does this have to do with me? And what does this have to do really with the world? Now, all of the people who put these things up want me to think about the world a particular way. They want me to think that the world that they're offering me is great, or that the world that they're offering me is completely trashed. But they don't want me to think about the parts of the world that you don't see on that screen. They don't want me to think about it at all. And so they crowd the screen with titillating bits that you can't do anything about. And they keep away from you the kinds of things that could actually bring us together. So let me tell you, so I've seen the name Andrew Tate, and I probably have seen a little blurb of what his picture looks like, and he's being held for something or other. It's like, I don't care that he's being held for something or other. You know, there are hundreds of thousands of people around the world being held for something or another. When I talk with my conservative friends, and once we get past the presenting issues that the social media and that the major mainstream news feeds them, we start talking about these really soft subjects that we don't know a whole lot about. And those soft subjects can actually be the things that change our world. But in order for me to talk to them about that, I have to let go of my home base. I have to let go of my, I know how this world works. I have to let go of, I heard you say something I didn't like before. That means that you're bad, and therefore I'm going to keep blaming you forever for this. And start looking at where can all of us come together and where can all of us reside. I don't, so that when someone is presenting something to me, my question is, what's in it for them? What's in it for me? And what's in it for who wants them to talk like this? Something happened some years ago during the Trump administration. I was at a coffee house. I do a lot of my work at coffee houses, a lot of coffee, a lot of tea. And there are two guys on a table in front of me. And they started talking about Trump in a negative way. I'm writing my book. So I'm sitting there writing. I finally have to put my headphones on because I don't want to hear what they're talking about. 2 hours later, I take the earbuds out and they're still talking about Trump. Now, this is something that we all know. Every person on this phone, on this call right now knows this, but we act like it doesn't apply to us. That which you think about gets stronger. Where you place your consciousness, that gets stronger. You place your consciousness with Trump, Trump gets stronger. So back before he got elected, I kept saying to people, this guy can get elected. Oh no, he's a buffoon. It's like, okay, but you're talking about him all the time. He can get elected, and he got elected. Okay, now people are still talking. He's out of office. You're still talking about him. And I'm saying again, he can get elected. Oh no, he's going to be indicted. But I said, but you're still talking about him. So you don't see what, we don't see a vision because you're not seeing a vision. And we're not seeing the real problems because you're not seeing the real problems. You're making the problems up, or you're accepting somebody saying, oh, look over here, look over here. The way the magicians want you to look at this hand while they're doing something else with that hand. If it's okay with you, I'd like, this is as good a time as any for me to do a little slideshow around the key elements in the new book. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So let me share my screen. The title to the new book is What the Baby Looks Like, Envisioning Humanity After Our Societal Collapse. I'm working in the title of The Nation of Gaia, and I'll talk a little bit more about Nation of Gaia later. But I'm calling the book that because we spend all of our time looking in one direction and we don't look in the other direction. Who is it that represents you? When you talk about, so-and-so is my representative, or who represents you? Is it government? Not me. And I think I can safely say not any of them, okay? Some of them are a lot worse than others. Some of them are better than others. But in terms of actually representing me or my interests or the interests of our planet, no. Is it a political party? For me, no. Is it a particular religion or religious leader? For me, no. So at this point in the 21st century, for me, none of them represent me or who I am. So we need to start finding them. So we need to start finding where our collective interests are. Who's going to represent us? Do we focus on the baby or do we focus on the afterbirth? Guess what this is, boys and girls? This, for each and every one of us here, was home. This was our lifeline. If we didn't have this, we would not be sitting here listening to this broadcast. Yeah, it gets worse. I mean, I've seen them a lot of different colors here. And or is it this? Is this what we want? What are we focused on? Do we focus on at the end of labor what the afterbirth looks like, or do we focus on what the baby looks like? Now, when I put it to you that way, everybody says, oh yeah, the baby. But how many of us are taking courses on what the afterbirth looks like? I'm talking about anti-racism, anti-sexism, anti-capitalism, anti-this. And so you take all these things and you wind up being anti. And I just asked the question, what's the baby look like? Okay. Now, if you don't have, I'll ask some people and they'll say, oh, well, the baby is anti-capitalist, anti-colonials, and it will not, none of that fills your heart up. So for those of you who have had babies, those of you who have seen the baby born, you know that the process is difficult. This is true for human babies. This is true for all babies being born. It's yucky, it's drippy, it's painful, it's difficult. And then out pops the baby and you forget all of the pain and all of the difficulty and all of the yuckiness of it. We forget it because that's how we move forward. We're holding on. We as a society are holding on to pain. We're holding on to the discomfort. We're holding on to the yucky parts because we don't see the baby. So we have a choice, which one you want to take home, okay? Just like in metamorphosis, in any metamorphosis, all of the parts that don't belong get left behind and you no longer think about it. You give only a moment's thought to what gets left behind. You focus on what goes forward. One of the things that, let's see here, push a button. Yeah, one of the things that another story, this happened a couple of years ago in Uganda. A woman was having a baby and went through all of the steps and knew what all the steps were. When she started going into labor, her husband takes her to the hospital and she does all the things that a woman does while she's in labor, almost none of them pleasant. And after she finishes going through pain and agony and dripping and all this other stuff, out pops the baby, and she starts smiling, and they rinse the baby off, and she takes it home. About a week later, she is experiencing intense abdominal pain, and they rush her to the hospital, into the emergency ward. And the first question they ask her is like, are you having a baby? She said, I just had a baby last week. So they says, okay, well, we know you're not pregnant. So they prep her for emergency surgery. They have no idea what's going on, but they know this woman is screaming and yelling, and they've got to do something. So they're prepping her for emergency surgery when out pops another baby. She is one of the rare women with 2 wombs. Her husband got her pregnant in both of them a week apart. And she had 2 children a week apart. They're not twins. They were not in the same womb. They have 2 different birthdays. Now, the reason I tell the story is because up until the time that she had the second baby, everybody thought she was dying, because you can't tell the death process from the birth process. We have to know in our hearts what's going on. Kind of hard to know that when you go to the hospital a week later and you're having another baby. And so we as a society, we know that the society we're in has reached a terminal point. We're trashing the earth, we're trashing ourselves, we're trashing each other. Something has to change. So we should be looking for the positive change. As soon as you look for it, it's there. Until you look for it, you start seeing all the problems, but you're not seeing the solutions. And so that's where I think we should be elevating. We should be elevating into what is the thing that gets all of us to the place where we can live as beings. One last point. For those of us who have been to the island of Bali, and I've been blessed to go there, I think 5 or 6 times, it's one of the most beautiful places on earth. And the Balinese people are some of the most beautiful people on earth. I've had a ball each time I've gone. But you know that 8 billion people can't fit on the island of Bali. Bali is not a solution. So it's a place of recreation, but it's not a place of solution. What is going to be the solution that you are holding for 8 billion humans? And how can those 8 billion humans work together to work with and for the other billions and billions and billions of beings that we share this planet with? Now, there's a solution. There is a solution for that. But for most of us, it's like, oh, this is too hard to think about. Let me turn up the volume on the TV. We've got to think beyond that. And that's what the new book is about. The sooner they get it finish writing it. And that's what we can talk about tonight as we're gathering today.
Oh, I did the spotlight thing right. It's really hard out here on this in Zoom world. And you know, Shariff, that is the piece, right? Of it's thinking more globally. So a friend accused me the other day of being a collectivist. And I was like, you're right. Because I love humans, and there's 8 billion people on this planet, and probably twice as many realities, at least that many realities, depending on how many realities one person has, you never know, and the potentials. But it really is about thinking about how we can all work together. And, you know, I have taken the anti-courses, and I have looked at cultural anthropology, and I have looked at historical, these things. And I had the, you know, activist-y moments for a hot bit. And it occurred to me at some point, I was like, oh, I'm doing the same thing, that it's the same system, right? That if I demonize another person, it's the same system. It's literally, I'm just on another person. And I thought a lot, like a couple months ago, just like, how does this integrate into the world where people are desperate to be heard? People are desperate to be safe and fed and connected. And the way that, I'm going to pause here. Sometimes people will say to me, you're so generous with your time and your love. And I say, well, I believe that everyone is deserving of love, dignity, and respect just for existing. Mm-hmm. Everyone deserves food and shelter and a little bit of, a little extra. A friend asked me, like, I'm struggling financially, and I surprisingly have a little bit of money so he can pay his child support. That's important. His child is important to me. And, you know, one of the things, speaking of the book, one of the things that I started reading recently, because I was like, how do you hold these? And I found this book. It's called When to Talk and When to Fight. And it's kind of, have you read this one? It's really brilliant. It's about this woman who is exploring her life, finds herself in a relationship that's where she's on the bottom, and she finds herself out of that relationship and newly experiencing her queer lesbian self in New York as a Jewish woman. And she was an activist for many years and was like, there are places, at some point she was like, there's places that this isn't working and that we're not thinking large enough to incorporate everyone. And I'm curious about what can all of the people who are watching and listening this evening, and people who are going to be, you know, that we don't even know are watching and listening. So however this is going to ripple out, what are like a couple things that they can take home with them right now that they, you know? Can I ask those things of you?
Yeah. I'm going to, first of all, I was writing down people, what you were saying with people being desperate for safety, desperate to be fed. And that doesn't necessarily mean food. It means sustenance. Like, what is that keeps me going?
Yes.
For many of us, we don't even know what food is. We've never experienced we've never had the experience of truly being fed at this deep level, of truly being connected. And so we create these ephemeral connections, these false connections, these as though taking my pain and turning it on its upside down on its head is going to feed me in some way. That's still not food. And so I've been doing an awful lot of thinking, and I've been doing an awful lot of feeling, like what feels good, mm-hmm. and then what doesn't, or what feels good only in this little tiny context. Before I launch into this, I'm about to launch into the key element of the new book of the baby. My writing assistant and I've just been calling it the baby book. You know, what the baby looks like. before I do that, I want to say that tried to put together a workshop for these concepts, and it didn't gel. And I'm looking like I'm seeing that there's 37 people on this call right now. That's more than enough to put a workshop together. That does not include all the folks who are getting this live streamed, all the folks who are going to see this a day or two later from the recordings, etc. So if we can put something together, I'm ready at almost a moment's notice. I'll have to refill my teacup, but I'm ready to do this as to go through this slower. But right now, and I would, if I'm about to say some things that will lead to a world for all. I'm about to say some things that will lead to what I call a mature human species. Right now, we don't act like we're one species on this planet. And there are folks that don't want us to act like one species. Look at the news around Russia. Oh my God, Russia, and they're doing and then they're depending on which news you look at, they're subjugating the people of Ukraine, or they're fighting NATO, or and all this is an illusion. It's an illusion that's been going on for a long time. You know, what, 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, no, 100 years ago, it was Archduke Ferdinand. Remember him? You know, 8 or 9 million people died because somebody shot him. Now, we can let that thinking go anytime we want to. So I'm going to invite you to let that go right now. At least give me 5 minutes without Archduke Ferdinand, without Russia, without the G7, G17, G20. There's a lot of G's out there. Without capitalism or communism or anything like that. Let me just talk about what a mature human civilization looks like. And this gelled for me maybe about a year ago. I'm watching a program. I have to say, I'm washing dishes. This is the most important part of this. I'm washing dishes, which is one of the most boring things that I can do. It's got to get done. I usually do something to occupy my time, my mind, while I'm doing this mindless task here. And yes, I read what's his name's book, Thich Nhat Hanh's book, that talks about washing the dishes like you wash a baby Buddha. I haven't gotten there yet. It's still a pain in the butt for me. I will one day when I get enlightened, I'll let you all know, but right now I need something else. And so what I do is I put on some kind of a YouTube learning module so that at the end of me washing the dishes, I'm smarter than I was before I started. And it can be on anything, cuneiform writing, the Great Pyramids, you name it. And this time it was on ants. And I learned something that has rocked my world since then. I learned 3 things. Number one, ants have been around for a very, very long time. Ants were around when the dinosaurs were here. And so they are some of the oldest beings on the planet. Number two, ants are among the most successful beings on the planet. Ant populations are everywhere in every possible environment. Someone, the program I was seeing said the only place that ants aren't is Antarctica. And somebody said, yeah, but they haven't found them there yet. They're probably there too. And the third thing was the most important piece. Ants did not start as colony beings. Ants did not start in an ant colony. They started as solo beings and they became colony beings. While ants were solo beings, they were only sparsely populated in very limited places on the earth. Once they became colony beings, they became what is arguably the most successful being on the planet. How successful? There are 35 pounds of ants for every pound of human. That's a lot of pounds, okay? And you look at the environments they're thriving in, and you look at they blend with their environment. They don't dominate the environment. So I stopped washing my dishes. I dried my hands, and I wrote down this note that I have attached to my computer, so I see it every single day. And it says, colony humans. And from that time, I started thinking, what would it be like if we acted like colony beings, where every human being has a function and a purpose, and that function and the purpose is seeing the whole, being the whole, caring for the whole, supporting the whole, knowing that you are deeply, deeply, deeply supported by every single being in your community. To know that all the food that you could possibly want and possibly need is there. It's just there. To know that all the connections, every possible connection you have today, is going to be one that feeds you and one that where you are going to be feeding all the others. That your vision and that your goal and how you're trying to carry that goal out is being deeply connected. So I've developed a term that I call holonic consciousness, and that's from an Arthur Koestler word. Arthur Koestler was talking about a lot of things about our psychology, our anthropology, everything, and he came with a word called holon, and a holon is a being that is whole unto itself, like me. I'm whole, most of the time I'm whole to myself, but I'm made up of other wholes. I'm made up of a heart and lungs and maybe once in a while a brain and arms and legs, etc. And each of them is made up of blood and tissues and I'm also I'm whole, but I make up larger wholes. I'm whole with my little apartment community here. I'm whole. I'm from Portland, Oregon, so I'm a part of Portland. I'm a part of the English-speaking world most of the time. I can go in a number. I'm part of larger wholes, smaller wholes, and all of our. When I talk about consciousness, and everything you've ever read about consciousness, whether it's been in formal studies, I have a degree in psychology, so I talked a lot about consciousness. There's a lot of people out here who've been talking about quantum consciousness, et cetera, et cetera. They're all talking about the consciousness of an individual that's associated with this brain or those brains I'm seeing on the screen right now. there's another kind of consciousness, and you've all experienced it. And this is the consciousness of oneness. Something has happened to you in your life where all of a sudden you transcend that individualized consciousness and you move into this collective realm of the collective consciousness. Now, I'll give this is a challenge, that when you have had the experience of collective consciousness, it has left a good feeling in you. And I want to give you a couple of different examples of that. On a trivial level, if you've been to a basketball game, and if it's a really good game, it's a really tight game, somewhere around the third or fourth quarter, you lose yourself. You lose it in this experience of 20,000, 30,000 people all having the same experience. In a non-trivial way, what we've been experiencing looking at these images of the earthquake in Turkey and Syria, you see people digging through rubble with their bare hands. They're doing that because they become one. And when they become one, they are acting. They're not saying I'm digging out my children, or I'm digging out my husband, or I'm digging out my dog. It's like I am supporting life in any way that I possibly can. And when people are doing that, even though it is difficult, and even though it's sad, etc., you know that you're doing the right thing because you're being propelled by your heart, not by your head. When there was the earthquake and tsunami in Japan, there's a person who was reporting, and she said she had a bottle of water. They're giving away bottles of water, and she went up to a man and handed him the bottle of water, and he took it, and then he handed it back and said, can you give this to someone who needs it more than me? Now, this isn't I'm thinking about X or Y or Z. This is there's someone right down the street who needs it more, and I don't have to know who that person is. You'll know when to do this. So our challenge is, when we can trigger the holonic consciousness, I feel good, you feel good, everybody associated with this feels good. The question, though, is, can we stabilize the holonic consciousness in society? Can we run our economics through the holonic consciousness? Can we run our politics through the holonic consciousness? The answer is yes, we can. But the second answer is, who doesn't want that to happen? There's an awful lot of people who don't want that to happen, who don't want you to be focused on other than making more money, to want you to be focused on anything other than you are insecure as long as that person over there is secure.
Mm-hmm.
Who doesn't, there's we've been doing things for such a long time, we begin to think that it's human behavior, when all it is the behavior that we're used to.
Yes.
And I'm serious, people on this call, people in this work, are the ones that are going to change that. And when that change happens, hopefully everybody will have their seatbelts buckled, because we're going to go for a ride, and it's going to be a pretty heavy one. And we're going to enjoy it. The people tied to the old consciousness won't enjoy it that much, but yeah, we're going to enjoy it.
Well, we'll love them.
Mm.
We'll bring them water.
And then they'll join. You know, this is the way it works.
Ding! I really like this term, holonic consciousness. Like, I love that. I'm going to bring everyone on here just to, yeah, I did the thing. Ooh, I'm getting good at it. I'm so excited. Shariff, I love the way you love. Is it called verklempt? Well, y'all, tell me about, oh, your mouse pad. Oh, okay. What about you, Omashar? How is this landing for you? And are these some of the things, like, what else are you ruminating on?
It makes 100 complete sense to me. It's we're all working towards the whole from our own unique perspective. And like Shariff, I've traveled around the world many places and seen so many different perspectives. And I realize now that I'm actually an individual, like there's 8 billion individuals on this planet with 8 billion individual roads home. And, so I don't know what to say, really. For me, I'm cherry picking all of the things within my consciousness that get in the way of me seeing the full holistic perspective. And it's a daily activity, like doing the dishes, and I get rather bored with it sometimes. And however, that's just my human self, my ego saying, oh, I'd rather turn the volume up louder. But I've already committed to going the whole road home. And I'm so glad that there's those of us who are going together, because there's got to be several million of us on the planet right now going this way. And I think that everything that Shariff said, I would have liked to have said, but your ability to elocute that is far greater than mine. I think I like to play what I feel and think. But having been to Bali, and we did an event on Bali, and there was literally it's a kind of a place of perfect balance. And in fact, where are we here? This is somewhere here. Oops, there. That's Bali. We're doing an event in Bali by the water. We were in this sacred place, which was just had orchids everywhere. And so I'm just attesting really to the travel experience of Shariff. And I'm running out of things to say.
One of the things that I've been, so I have a course that I'm walking through, like I mentioned before. I'm walking like 15 people through. And one of the things that I'm trying to convey for them is that the parts of us that we disown, or that we dislike, or that we shame, or that we suffocate, or choose to make bad and wrong, like our ego. That's like this whole thing, like our ego's bad. No, we actually need that. That's a survival technique. It's important for human beings to live. Like to actually, like when we part ourselves out, it's the places where we also part everyone else out. It is the place where we are not whole, where we are not creating the fullness, the wholeness, the connection to, and that is also the place where we separate ourselves from what is possible. So if I'm going to shame myself for some weird body construct thing that's not even my own thing, like what does the baby look like? I woke up in this body. Who told me that this body was wrong and bad? I didn't. Who told my mom that? And who told her mom that? And then who told her mom? And then or my dad, or like
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So when we see these places of like, oh, everything is sacred.
Mhm.
There's nothing that is not sacred.
It's true, and what I found lately is I walk down the street and I notice that there's a subtle judgment of everybody that arises in my consciousness, and I'm thinking, am I thinking this about you, or is it your energy field that I'm picking up on, or is it just in the collective consciousness? And so it just happens, and so every time I have that prejudge, I take it away and just go, okay, you're an essential divine being, and so I'm looking. My thing is to look at everybody, no matter whether they cut me off in the traffic or they or they're really nice to me. It's like we're all divine beings, and we have to see each other in that elevated state to where your attention energy goes, where your attention flows. And I'm realizing all of the negative things that have happened in my life have probably been created by me, and actually very possibly actually, and which is an interesting one, because it means that there's no one to blame. It's just, let's get this comb of consciousness pulled through my consciousness, so I can not necessarily look through this individual Omashar, but through the essential being that I am in my heart. And yeah.
Like that you said that I am an essential divine being.
Yes, we all are essential, and we need each other. Well, we are each other, but we need each other. And yes, indeed. Yes.
You look like you're pondering, Shariff.
Oh, yes, that's definitely my ponder look. The other side.
My ponder looks like this.
Yeah. Yeah, there are times when you're doing a Zoom, but you're not conscious that your camera is live, and so you're doing all the things that you should not be doing while your camera is picking your nose, picking your teeth,
Yeah, but it's okay.
yeah, yawning,
The dishes, yeah.
I love all of you. Your whole here. I love you. Thank you.
Yeah. And then it's like, oops. Yeah. Okay. So I have one more piece of this book I'd like to share with you. But before that, I have to tell you a joke. I was doing a lot of community sessions, bringing people together across cultural divides. And so this was, I was working in the Three Valleys Project, and this was bringing a group of Anglos and a group of Latinos together across lots of divides, things that were dividing them, including language and culture and class and everything. And so we're doing this really big community gathering, well, really big for this town. This is like the biggest meeting they'd ever had, 300 people. And we're doing simultaneous translations with wireless transmitters, and everything was humming right along. And while they were in their discussion groups, I had to go to the bathroom. So that's with my wireless mic hot.
Right.
I went to the bathroom, and I came out and there was silence. And I figured out what the problem was. And I just said, well, at least I washed my hands.
Well, I mean, you don't have to translate a fart, do you?
Okay, right, exactly. And this is something that really, really is cross-cultural. Okay, so let's get serious again. What I would like to share with you is, well, where's my share button here? Okay. So I'd like to share with you is something that I've been referring to as the nation of Gaia. And this came about because I started thinking about this because I was thinking about what holds my allegiance. And I start off by saying, it's not being, my allegiance isn't to a particular hunk of dirt. I've been on every continent except Antarctica, me and the ants. I've been to 45 now countries. I've been to every conceivable cultural group that I can think of. And I can see across all of them. I've read every religious book that you can, every major religious book that you can name. Still working my way through the Book of Mormon, but I've read all the other ones. And they all read the same when you read across them. And so what it is that has my allegiance is all of us. And so I'm looking at the nation of Gaia having some interesting properties. First property is non-geographic. It is the entire planet. You don't divide planets up. If you take a good look at the image there, try to find the lines. There aren't any. Okay. I was raised in the era that I was raised in, the big globe in the corner of the room that had the globe of the earth with every country a different color. And the Soviet Union was blood red. I mean, like this big gash across the earth. And the United States was these pretty pastel colors. Every state was a different color. And that shaped my mind. And I'm allowing this one to shape my mind. And this is one of my favorite pictures because it doesn't lead with North and South America. It's, I've got one where all the land masses are turned on their head. It's like, why are we looking at this a particular way? So non-geographic, non-exclusive. To be part of the nation of Gaia, that does not mean you have to give up any other connection you have with any other person or body or nation or anything like that. Non-dominant. Now, you may say, well, Nation of Gaia is my primary affiliation that I want on the planet. Now, that's what I'm saying. But if you want somewhere else, if you want Uzbekistan, then that's fine with me. I don't care. We don't care. As long as you recognize that the holonic consciousness is going to be, regardless of what your thoughts are. And the last part of this, of the nation of Gaia, is I'm calling it nonprofit. We don't exist to make a handful of people rich. And it's time that we stopped acting like that. It's time that we start recognizing that the way the world exists right now, there's more than enough room for all 8 billion of us. But but by taking all of the wealth and resources and giving it to a handful of people who couldn't spend the money if they tried. You can't spend 10 billion, 20 billion, $50 billion. You cannot do that. You can buy more stuff to make more money, but you can't, it's not, you can't spend it. So what we can do is do this for the good of all. So what I'm going to do in the near future is take this slide off. Yeah, what I'm going to do in the near future is get start doing experiments in holonic consciousness to get a group of people together to purposefully reduce the separation between myself and yourself. To do that, regardless of the regardless of where you start. So this isn't going to be, well, let's get all the leftists together and then we'll try to create holonic consciousness. Let's get all the conservatives together. Let's get all the Americans together. Let's get all the rich people together. Let's get all the poor people together. It's like, no, why don't we just get not even all of the people? Let's get all of the beings together and practice letting go of our individualized consciousness, letting go of what Albert Einstein called the delusion that I am separate. Okay, let's cure ourselves from that delusion and start recognizing this holistic energy, the energy of one. And to recognize that energy wants to transcend all of our bounds, including our human bounds. I was down in Mexico recently. I say that as I look out the window and look at all the snow that's coming down. I was down in Mexico recently, and I was every evening I would go down to the beach and I'd try to take a better sunset shot than I did the day before. And as I was down on the beach at sunset, all of a sudden there's this pod of whales that is going by this section of the beach. And at that time, most of the people on the beach were Mexican. And all of us were in holonic union with this pod of whales. Now, the pod of whales was out there, and this was like really deep water, but it's only like 2 or 3 blocks from where I was standing. I mean, that's how close the whales were. So the whales were in holonic consciousness with us, with the humans on the beach. And they start acting up, so they're breaching and they're tail slapping and they're jumping. And every time they did that, the humans would act up. The humans were applauding and shouting, and there was this like maybe for 15 minutes or so, this is really cool. This is interspecies communication, and all of us feel greater from that experience. We have all had the experience of holonic consciousness. We've had spiritual experiences, religious experiences, cultural experiences, etc. I'm proposing that we do this on purpose, for the purpose of not what our group is, but to recognize our group is humanity and we're connecting with all of the other groups. If you go on the COMMONWAY website, at the bottom of any of the pages, it's how to connect with COMMONWAY. You give me your name and your email address, and I'll put you on the list, and you will, yep, looks just like that. I'll put you on the list, and you will be notified when we're doing these experiments in holonic consciousness partly on Zoom, partly, yep, there you go. Partly on live in a particular location. And we just want to do these bigger and bigger and bigger so that eventually you can get big enough that we are doing these with 8 billion people. And Scott, I think you got the error message because you're already on there. Okay, so that's it. I obviously can go another couple of hours if you just want to stick around, but yeah, let's see where we go with this, and I'll let you know when we're doing something with regard to understanding holonic consciousness and doing some work and some experiments with that.
You know, I want to just share with you, and we're going to have a lot to share back and forth, Shariff. I'm participating in a big event happening in Sedona called Igniting the Hollow Movement. And it's a closed event, but there are 80 of us from the Evolutionary Leaders Network all gathering to launch this movement. And I'm just going to pull up, this is what we're working on in the Hollow Movement. And it's very, very similar. It's a vision for a holographic planet where we are all really supporting each other. And I'm involved in the visibility, the media group. But it's fascinating what you're sharing, and this conference that I keep getting all these amazing information from the people who are putting it together. And I'm going to be broadcasting the Awakening World from that conference in 3 weeks. So I definitely look forward to kind of learning more about what you're doing, and then kind of sharing your vision with that vision and that vision with yours. And it's beautiful that that so many different people are having a common vision.
And even if I can't see, just like I can't see what's happening on the opposite side of the planet right now, even if I can't see it, once we are all in the same, I call it the holonosphere sphere, we will all see it. We'll all have the experience of it, and we can go from there.
I'm going to, people want to know your website again. His website is COMMONWAY.org, COMMONWAY.org. I'm going to put that back in the chat box, and actually that's the link that takes you to where you can subscribe to get his newsletter and to be part of the program.
Yeah.
Shariff, it's always so inspiring. You knocked my mouse out. You killed it, but it came back to life.
The mouse exterminator.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like, oh my God. We do need to conclude, but we always conclude with music. Omashar is the alpha and omega of this show. He begins and ends all things. Shariff, I love you so much, and I respect you. Thank you so much. Several of our people, if you see the chat box, were like, oh my God, I'm so glad Shariff is back. Mark Danisovsky was talking about how incredibly valuable you always provide for us. So thank you very much. Trish? Are you muted, Trish?
Haha. Thank you, Shariff. It's always so lovely to have you. You're such an inspiration for me and such a heart-centered human.
We love Shariff.
Thanks, Omashar.
You're welcome. I'm Shariff. You're an inspiration. Your energy is beautiful. The way you elocute everything is just so clear. I receive it directly in my heart. And thank you. And I'm gonna sing this is a rock song, and there's some air guitar in the middle. So someone out there can nod their head. So I'll play this, and then I'm sure Scott will come back in and tell us what's happening on the weekend.
That's right, I shall.
Okay. Right. I've seen too much to deny anymore. I'm finding out where I'm hurting. The journey now is liberating, breaking down walls inside me. And now the door within my heart is open. Another aspect of me changes into light, clearing out the chalice of emotion. The sword of Michael keeps me free from worldly blight. As I climb aboard this ship of wonders, beauty abounds in my life. I've seen it all through my own eyes. Heaven and earth are merging, and now the door within my heart is open. Another aspect of me changes into light, clearing out the chalice of emotion. The sword of Michael keeps me free from worldly blight, and I know that I am crossing over, letting go of all that keeps me from my birth, taking steps into my highest journey. Joined together we will create heaven. Now the door within my heart is open. Another aspect of me changes into light, clearing out the chalice of emotion. The sword of Michael keeps me free from worldly blight, and I know that I am crossing over, letting go of all that keeps me from my birth, taking steps into my highest journey. Joined together we will create heaven on this
Wow. I love that one. Those guitar riffs are fantastic.
Man, that's such a fun track. And the guitarist on that is actually from Frode's country, a guy called Arvind Orset. He's in Norway, very famous rock guitarist over there. And I just happened to record the backing track for this in Norway. And he was hired as one of the backing musicians. So I'm really proud of that.
Wow. Well, thank you, and love you so much, Omashar.
Thank you too, brother. And you, Trish, and you, Sharif.
This is the new improved Jasmine Bear. She just got groomed today. So this is, she's very proud, very excited, but now she's kind of resting. Thank you, everybody, for dancing. I love watching Eleanor Joy and Waterfall and the Wild Monk and Sylvia and all of you that move and groove to the music. It's really one of my favorite parts of these shows. So thank you all for dancing and moving. And we've got 2 more shows this week, and they're both really going to be great. Saturday night, all about enlightened partnerships. Sri and Kira will be with us, Pato and Antoinette, Renee and Anthony, Kamala Devi and Michael McClure. She is a leading teacher of relationship. And then music, we'll have music with Omashar, Fanny and Vigari, and Shamishka. Shamishka, you've seen them before on the show. They're really, really fun. James and Ishka, therefore they are Shamishka. And then on Sunday, the Sacred Sunday show, we are continuing to really learn all about ascension. And again, we'll have Deborah Giusti, Suzanne Ross, who's the creator and founder of the Sedona Ascension Retreat. There's 2 weekends back-to-back in Sedona, which I will be there for live. I'm driving to Sedona this weekend. And so we're going to be doing shows from Sedona over the next month, which is going to be really, really fun. Anyway, we've got great people, including JJ and Desiree Hertok on Sunday. They're amazing. He wrote The Keys of Enoch 50 years ago, and it's truly one of the great books, one of the great metaphysical books. It could be argued that he is the world's foremost scholar of the merging of science and mysticism. He's amazing. And he and his partner, Desiree, will be with us, Tangela, and of course, music with Omashar. So it's going to be a really powerful Saturday night and Sunday. Okay, there is going to be a retreat. It's been a lot of moving parts to kind of pull it all together. We will start Tuesday night, or Tuesday, I should say, March 28th. There's going to be this all-day event, the LA Convergence with Pato and Antoinette, Kristen Hoffman, Omashar, a lot of musical artists, a lot of speakers. Wednesday, we're going to go to Pato and Antoinette's land during the day, and then to the beach for a sunset ceremony in the evening. Thursday will be kind of the official start of the Global Peace Drive retreat. And we're going to do a lot of work with Sri and Kira, and they are bringing a shaman up with them from Ecuador. We're going to be doing a lot of music, a lot of ceremony, a lot of ritual. We've got some wonderful other musical people joining us, Louisa Stowe, Bob and Pookie, and of course, Omashar. And then psychic people coming in. Tangela is doing a big psychic fair in LA that we'll go to on Sunday afternoon. Also, Kimberly Meredith and others will be coming into the retreat. I'm still pulling together where we're going to actually do it. We've got some of that worked out and we're working on the rest. But if you're interested in coming, please let me know right away. And it's best to send me a text message or an email, and I will notify you. I'm putting it together as quickly as I possibly can. We have opened up the registration for now until the end of June. Now, almost all of you in the Zoom room, you've already registered because you're in the Zoom room. So you're registered for the season. But at any time between now and April 1st, you can register and get the Zoom room links for the next 3 months for April through June. For those of you watching on Facebook or on YouTube, if you haven't registered for this season, register now, because you're going to get 4 months worth of links, actually a little more than 4 months. You'll get the links for the rest of this season, and then you'll get all the links for the next season. So it's a good deal, good time to register. Thank you so much, Trish, for being my wonderful, loyal co-host on Wednesday nights now. Thank you, Omashar, for always being there. And our very special guest, the Ruminator, right? You've heard of the Terminator? You're the Ruminator. We love you, Sharif. Thank you so much for being with us. And I'm going to go to gallery view. Feel free to turn on your cameras, turn on your microphones, and let's all send some Global Peace Tribe love to the Ruminator, Shariff Abdullah. And love you much, and we'll see you this weekend. Take care, everybody.